Kelly here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm once again working in my Pocket Art Challenge project album. And this week's prompt, let me get my prompt list here, is experiment. So I decided to experiment with mixed media. Now, before I jump into playing with mixed media, I wanted to talk through a little bit of my history with mixed media, or lack of history, because I'm hoping that what it'll do is encourage you to either just try something, pick something back up that you wanted to try, or maybe find something new to try. So I thought I would talk through kind of how I've arrived at this little world here. So I have a whole bunch of stuff on my desk, and I'm going to talk through these things. So let me go ahead and start moving things around. What I have over on this side is what I'm going to be working with today. I'm going to be doing a mixed media page, and I want to kind of walk through and talk through the experimental piece of that. So that's what this stuff is. I'll talk about that in just a few minutes. So I'm going to move that aside. I'm going to try to do a crazy balancing act now. See how this goes. Let's see. I've got a few other projects on my desk. And I want to start with this one in particular. So I love the idea of watercoloring, but I've not really dived? I have never dove, whatever that phrase is, into that world so much. But this is a book that I purchased. And I apologize if you hear in the background noises. My daughter's currently making a slushie. My almost 5-year-old, is just being a 5-year-old. My husband's watching college basketball. This is just life, and we're moving on with it. So this book, I purchased this book because this is actually, her name is Lorraine Lorene, I think it's pronounced Lorene, Lorene, Edwards Faulkner. And she is somebody who I follow on Instagram. And what drew me to her feed were pictures like this. So she would take things from her beautiful, luscious garden, and then she would create these watercolors. And so I'll just flip through and show just a few examples. I mean, isn't that absolutely beautiful? And it's so simple, but yet not. And just how she picks up the nuances of all the different colors, and just, it's so yummy to look at. So this has always been something that's intrigued me and made me want to do some sort of watercolor. And quite honestly, this is very intriguing to me because it seems doable, because this is just swatching basically. But I loved how she took the beauty of nature and creation and then paired it into the creativity of the watercolor. And so that has been something that I have loved. And I actually want to do something similar. Maybe this summer I might kind of venture into something very similar to this when I'm out and about. So, I mean, honestly, I could just flip through this and it is just so pleasing to my eye. But she's even took things like shells. So it doesn't have to be something in nature. It could be truly anything. To just kind of recreate and get inspiration from this whole little project. We'll call it a project. So one day I took out my watercolors and I swatched them, and I just made this quick little page. And I gotta tell you, it was so relaxing and rewarding. So I totally get the benefits of watercolor, and just putting down this beautiful pigment to paper is so rewarding. So that's one thing that has kind of drawn me into mixed media, and really just the world of watercoloring and art and things like that. Then last February, I discovered a artist named Alyssa Burke, and she offers all kinds of really cool classes online. And so I found one about art journaling, and I took the class. It was a class I paid for online. It was a go at your own pace, watch lots of videos, and I ended up creating this sketchbook. This is just a cheapy notebook that I got from, I forget, Dollar Tree, Walmart, something like that. I mean, it was probably $1. It's just a lined notebook, and I just started playing. I just started playing with paint, and I got a little bit of washi tape in there. So here's another one. And so the purpose of this, here's one where I experimented with putting down some paper with some handwritten script on there. I played with different kinds of pens and paints and just really had fun. I actually showed this in a video where I created my own stencils, and I'll make sure to link that. But this is a page that I painted, and then I came back in and I did a stencil, and then I came back in and did some mark making. I even did a little bit of writing here. I wrote happy, joy, love over and over, and it was such a rewarding experience because it was just an opportunity to play and just kind of see where it led me. So I'll flip through this a few more pages. Here's another page that I did layers, and I kind of drew in some different elements here. This is like some wheat, or I don't know what this is, but you get the point. But I just kind of imagine this being like rocks and pebbles and nature, which is something I just truly love. So I'll flip through quickly. The idea is that I have all of these pages that I can come back to whenever I want, and I can just do some mark making, and I can add to it and build onto it. So for example, here's a page I painted. I did mark making, I painted over it, I did more mark making, I can come in and do that again. And if you're unfamiliar with the terminology of mark making, it's really basically making a mark. So for example, on this page, let me find a pen here. I'll go with this little white one here. And now maybe I'll come in and I'll just do a few marks on top of these black marks. So you see, I can hear my daughter making a slushie. I don't know why it's taking her so long to finish that slushie. She's obsessed with it. Okay, so I hope the microphone's not picking that up because it's like nails on a chalkboard to me. But let's see, there's just a few more. Here's a fun page that I got to play more with color. As you can see, it's just fun to just play with. So it's really actually quite nice to flip through this and just see all this color and how much fun it was to play. I'm remembering this page and how much fun it was to mess around with a stencil and see what worked and what didn't. And here's another page with some glittery, I don't even know what this was, like a glue, like some sort of paint. I think it's a paint. I'm not even sure, but it was fun to experiment with. The other thing about having a notebook like this and experimenting is you can make mistakes and it's really not that big of a deal. Like putting these two pages together, you saw that pulling them apart was got a little sticky. I learned a lot about different kinds of paint. I have a lot of these satin acrylic paints, but I learned that those will stick to each other. So when I shut the book the first time, my pages became one. So I dug in a little bit and I learned that was because I was not using matte paint. And that's something that class taught me through Alyssa Burke. Here's a page where I got to play with more texture. So I actually used like a texture paste that I added color to, and it was just such a great place to just play. So I still have plenty of work I could do that, and these notebooks are super cheap, and I don't really, if I use it, I use it, I don't, but it's a fun thing to have. So you make all these foundation pages, and then you can just pick it up and play with it really anytime you want. So that was a fun project, and I will make sure to link Alyssa Burke, so if you're interested in checking her out. Here is another dive into painting and art. This was something from Illustrated Faith last, I think it was May, called, ooh, there's a sticker in there, fun. It's been a while since I went in here. 100 Days of Looking Up. And so the purpose of this was to, look up, look at the sky, look out at creation, look at what God's given us. So I bought this kit, and it came with all of these empty jars that were hand-drawn by an artist. Let me see if I can find who did this. I cannot remember her name off the top of my head. I don't see it anywhere in here. So I want to say her name is Tamra, but I'm not 100% sure. This was another one of those daily projects that I just realized I'm not good at. But I did create enough all the way through June. So every day in June, I took a photo of the sky. And then I sat down and I painted that. And so this was another way for me to just find some confidence in painting and see with texture and kind of just what I would come up with. And it was a really fun experience, and I want to do this again, and I have all these extra cards, so I totally will. It was really fun for me to pay attention to both morning sky, night sky, stars, sunsets, sunrises, and just kind of how the light played in the clouds, and I thought that was really fun. So I did 30 days of looking up, but then the next 30 days I wanted to do looking down. And I wanted to look at kind of like the micro world of grass and weeds and trees and leaves, and kind of really get into the little details of that. So that's a project that is ongoing for me, and I've just made it into my own project. You know, I'll just set this aside. So that is something that I can come back to and play with. So I really love that. Because I enjoyed that so much, I bought myself a little watercolor notepad. So I have that in my stash. That would be an easy thing to take with on a vacation. What I used for most of those paintings was actually watercolor markers. So these are markers that, let's set this aside, I swatched out, and I have all the colors here. And so this was another fun way to experiment with art supplies and figure out how these markers work. So you would use the marker, and then you would come back in with like a blender pen. So, or I'm not sure if that's what it's called, but I have one in here. One of these. It's like a water-filled paintbrush pen. I don't think it's called a blender pen, actually. I think it's called something else. I don't know my terminology here with art supplies, but I do know I love them. So that was a fun little dive into watercoloring. A few other supplies I have on hand that I don't play with quite as often as I'd like to. Basic watercolors. Now, I did not go out and purchase, I've actually had these for quite a while. I didn't purchase anything super expensive. I think I paid maybe 15 bucks for this on Amazon quite a few years ago. I made myself a little swatch. This is actually just a circle stamp that I had. I created this little swatch so I have, you know, a better representation of the colors. And that's it. I don't have anything fancy. I don't have anything expensive for my watercolors. And I also have a set of watercolor pencils, which I have shown on this channel. I keep a bunch of them on my desk, probably my favorite colors. And these are colors I used a lot in fall, so I've just kept them out. And again, I had some fun swatching them. And I think what was really cool about swatching these things was it gave me an opportunity to test them out and see how they behave. Because I could tell you the markers and the watercolors and the watercolor pencils all behave differently. And so it was really fun to kind of play with that. Now, when you're using a watercolor pencil, depending on the paper you're using or the material you're doing it onto, you know, I wanted to know, can I see the strokes after I apply water and get it wet? How does that play out? How does it work when I fill in like a square? Like I can see, I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but I can see on here that some of the colors did better with blending out, but some of them I can actually see the square underneath that I colored in and then how it spread out from there. So another great reason to just have time to experiment and play. These are a few fun little things I just recently picked up. I saw them on Amazon, and I actually bought them for my daughters, but once I got them in hand, I kind of decided they didn't need any more Christmas presents. So I kept them for myself for right now. I'll probably share it with them. But this is kind of fun. It's just a little pad of watercolor paintings. So what we have here, and I haven't even played with this yet, are just illustrations on the side, and these ones are just princesses. I thought my almost 5-year-old would enjoy that. There is this strip along the side here where it's just a bit of paint that you get wet and treat as watercolor. I mean, it is watercolor. It also comes with this little brush in the back. So you can essentially take this on the go, which is why I bought it, because I thought it'd be fun for my girls to have when we go on our vacations and little trips. So I'm holding on to them for them, but I think it's going to become a mommy and me adventure, and they're going to have to share with me, or I'll share with them, however that works out. Okay, so that's kind of how I've arrived to where I'm at today. So let me talk through a little bit about my supplies, and then I'm actually just going to play and take you along on the journey with me. I think this is going to end up being a really long video because I'm not probably going to speed up much of it. I'm going to talk through what I'm doing, and maybe I'll put music on, but I'll probably keep it pretty much normal speed, maybe slightly sped up, depending on how this goes. And I'm doing that intentionally because what I really want is for you to see this process laid out in real time so that it gives you the confidence to try it yourself. I did something similar recently on a live stream I did with the First Love Club. It didn't go quite as I had planned because my daughter Lily came into the shot and then wanted to paint with me, and I just let her do it. And we actually had a lot of fun. In fact, I will show you the piece that we made together. So this is what Lily helped me create. I think it was more like this angle here, or maybe it was this. I don't remember. But she came in and she laid down a little bit of paint, and then I did a few examples and kind of showed off what this process looks like. So this is what I'm going to create again, is something like this. Now, if you're wondering what did I do with this project, I'm going to show you a page from my Holy Habits book. And this was something I did mostly on that live stream. So let's see. So I did this page, and I had created a piece already and cut out these hexagons. So these hexagons here that I'm pointing to were all part of a big sheet, again, much like this, that I painted and then I cut out with a paper punch. So I was able to create these custom little pieces to add into this project. So that is an example of what you can do with this once you've created a piece. You could make cards with it. You could use it as a background on a scrapbook page. You could do all kinds of fun stuff with it. So I am going to now start talking through what I have on my desk. This is a large mixed media paper sketchbook, if you will. So it is, let's see, does it say what size it is? It's 9 by 12. So I'm going to go ahead and rip a piece of this out. And this is what I'm going to work on. So this is Strathmore mixed media. So this is kind of a page that you would use for drawing or wet media, things like that. So that's the paper I'm going to work with. I also have used paper that is designed for watercoloring. Now this paper, I notice, I don't know much about this world. Keep that in mind. I'm only sharing my very limited knowledge. So this is not meant to be something to be a tutorial for you to then have all this knowledge. This is meant to be an encouragement for you to try something out. I just want to put that disclaimer out. There are true artists that this is what they do, and I would highly recommend a few. I'll even try to link some below that I like to follow. But back to the paper. This paper has a texture to it. I don't know why, but I'm sure it has something to do with the water absorption and the paint and things like that. So this is actually just watercolor paper. I'm sure you could use it for other things, but that's what its tension is. Okay, so I got my paper. Other things I have on my desk, I have water, so I'll be using that. I have some paints, so I'll talk through the paints here. This is just an acrylic paint. This is the Mondo Llama. That is a horrible name for me to try to pronounce. But it's Target. I get it from Target. And this is, again, a satin finish. So hopefully it doesn't cause any problems. I have a couple more paints from the Mondo Llama and Handmade Modern. Now, I think these are one and the same. I think they switched the name, but I could be wrong, but they seem essentially the same to me. So I just grabbed a few colors to work with. This kind of makes me think of an Easter egg. I don't know why, but those are the colors I've chosen. I also have these little spray bottles. I don't know if I'm going to use them. I might. but I want to talk about them for a second. These are just little spray bottles that I had on hand. I think you could probably get something similar from the dollar store, or really any travel size toiletry item kind of thing, or I'm sure you could repurpose something. But what I have in here is water and acrylic paint. So I put some paint into a little spray bottle, added water, and I give it a good mix, and this creates kind of like a mist or a paint that you can spray. Now I haven't figured out how to do it without it being a complete mess, but it is fun to play with. This is one that I purchased a long time ago from Studio Calico. It is one of the Color Theories, and the sprayer on it, I think it was just old and crusty, so it doesn't spray well. But what I like to do with these, and I'll show this in a little bit here, is I like to actually take them, open them this way and kind of splatter with it. So I will talk about that as I do that. That's what these little spray bottles are. I have these acrylic inks. I have no idea what I'm doing with them. So far, all I've figured out how to do is basically blob it on and spread it around with a straw. But that's fun, and I'm going to keep playing with that because I've only done it twice. So I want to have fun with that. I have a couple of tools here. I have a couple paintbrushes. I just grabbed a few. I have more right in front of me and my tools that are right off to the side here. I grabbed a straw because, again, I want to play with this acrylic ink, and it seemed to work really well to spread it around by blowing on it. And then I picked this up a while back. This is a Tim Holtz Distress Splatter Brush, I think is what it's called. I'm not sure about the name of that, but I'm going to try this, and I'm going to demonstrate it without paint on it because I think it's going to go pshoo everywhere. But my understanding is that you get some paint on it, and then you can splatter it onto your project. So I think I'm going to try that. I have a whole bunch of pens. These are Posca paint pens. So these are, I want to say, are they oil-based? I don't know if that's true. I don't know exactly what they're made out of. But I have them in several sizes. So I have these might be the same. No, they're different. I have these 3 sizes. So one, and you got to give them a little shake, but I have a small bullet shape is what that one's called. This is also a bullet shape, but it's a little bit larger. And then this is the big Mama Jama. And this is a really big bullet shape. So this is a really big fun one. So I have those in both white and black. I also have a couple of Sharpies. These are duplicates, so I won't need all of these. I have a smaller one somewhere, like more of a traditional size, but I think my 12-year-old stole it. She does love to paint. She loves to do art, so I think she took it. She didn't steal it. She took it. So regardless, I have a chisel tip Sharpie, and I have a king size, so a big chisel tip. It's just fun to play with a giant Sharpie, to be honest. I also have a Micron archival ink pen in black, and this is a 0.505. No, it's 0.45. It's even smaller, so very tiny. And I have a white Uniball Signo. This is like a, I think it's kind of like a gel pen, but this is really nice on especially a dark color. I have a towel. I keep a paint towel, so I don't care what gets on this. I found this in my stash. I think it's kind of like a screen print thing, so I might play with that just because. And then I just have this tray. I haven't washed it since last time I used it, so it's kind of gunky, but it doesn't really matter. I think it'll be fine. Anything would work. I've used paper plates. Honestly, I like to use paper plates the most because it's really fun over time to see it build up, this palette of paint. But really anything you can pour paint out onto will work. So those are the supplies and tools I'm going to use. So let me clear all this, and then I will start putting color down on paper. Okay, I'm ready to get some color down on this paper. The last thing I wanted to share that I didn't have out on my desk was some sort of drying tool. This is not necessary by any means. None of this stuff is, truthfully, but this is what I have. This is just a mini blow dryer, like a travel size, I mean, it's even smaller than a travel size, it would never in a billion years dry all the hair on my head. So it has been relegated to a craft tool. But this is a little mini blow dryer that I got in, I think, a FabFitFun box a long time ago. And I had no idea what to do with it, but now I love it. It is perfect. So I love this little guy. So I will be using this to speed up my drying process. I'm impatient, so I like to have this. I prefer this for this type of project than a heat gun because I'm very klutzy and I have burned myself and I have burned my paper. And this I feel a little more confident in. So I have my mini blow dryer. Okay, let's start painting. Get that set aside. So for the purpose that I think this is going to end up in, well, actually, I take that back. It's going to end up in my Pocket Art Challenge album. So here's my album. And I'm working on, again, week 5 or prompt 5. I probably should say prompt 5. And I'm working on a 6x8, or at least in a 6x8 pocket. So I don't have to worry about different configurations. It's all going to go on a 6x8. So I'm really just trying to create an end product of a 6x8 page. So that'll make it easy for me. So what I can do is I can envision this, and I'm actually going to turn it this way. So this is the orientation that my paper will be. And I don't need to paint this entire page. I only need a 6x8. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to take one of my papers, that's 6x8, and I'm going to give myself kind of some parameters to work with. So let me find my pencil. And I want to be able to fill this whole page. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give myself a little bit of, how much more awkward can I make that? Boundaries. So that I know for sure I want to be kind of in this boundary. So if I don't go all the way to the edge, I know I have a leeway, but I kind of really want to focus in here. So that's where I'm going to give myself as a boundary. Now, when I was working in my art journal, I went all the way to the edge of the page, and I would have a piece of scratch paper kind of tucked behind to catch all of the overage. But I won't have to worry about that. Okay, so my first step that I like to do is just put down some white. This paper it's not quite white, it's off-white, and I want something a little bit more true white. So if I could get this open. Seriously? Okay, I had to have my husband open it. I think I'll clean this bottle off later after I'm done. And I already have paint on myself. Cool. Let's put my sleeves up. So now I can paint. So I have another tool here that I forgot to talk about. This is a Catalyst by Princeton. I don't know what it's really called. It's an artist brush. I don't know what you call this thing, but I'm going to have this out on my desk too because I think I'm going to try to use it on this. We'll see. Okay, so I've got some paint here. So all I'm going to do is put a little bit here in the corner, just a blob. I'm not going to screw that on too tight because I think that was my problem. Get this white out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to take and water this down just a little bit. I don't know where I picked this up and I don't know why I do this, but it's just something that I've come to do when I'm laying down my base. I just like it to have a little less thickness. I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but that's what I'm going to say. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint that down. Oops, got on my desk. All across, and I'm going to go, sometimes I'm going to pay attention to my strokes. For this particular layer, I want it to be up and down. And I think I'm going to run out before I get to the other side. We'll see. Just spread it around a bit more. And I apologize if I go out of frame a little bit on any of these steps. I'll try to be mindful of that, but when I get going, I just kind of go. Okay, so now I've got kind of a base going, and I'm gonna go ahead and dry this. Okay, so that is dry enough. I can feel there's just a little bit of moisture still to it, but it's okay. I'm not worried about it. I'm also gonna just kind of clean off my desk as I go. So what I was really looking for is just that I didn't see any blobs of shininess, because that would tell me it's not dry. There's a little sheen to it, but not much. Because again, this is a satin paint that I'm using, not a matte. So there's gonna be a little sheen on this. Okay, so next I'm gonna, I have that white there and it's a little wet, I'm gonna move along. I'm going to go ahead and start putting down some layers of color. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this pink. Just gonna go ahead and blob some of that on. Now, if you don't enjoy getting messy, then I'm not sure what to tell you. Because I'm covered, not covered, but I got some paint on me already, and I'm not mad about it, I'll tell you that. Feels good. Okay, so now I'm gonna pick a different brush. In fact, do I want to use this one? I have some other shapes here. I'm gonna grab another one here. This one's a little bit more rounded. That's another fun thing to do, is to spend some time playing with your brushes and figuring out what the different brushes do, how the strokes work, and kind of what you would use them for. So I recommend that as well. Okay, I am gonna go ahead and I think I'm gonna turn it. I wanna go at an angle here. And this time I'm not gonna water my paint down. I'm gonna go right over it just a little bit. I wanna see the difference. So I'm just gonna go kind of at an angle and just put some color down. Oh, I like this color. It's really like a warm, kind of bright pink. For this particular project, I don't think I'm gonna care too much about blobs of paint on it. I'm not gonna smooth it out. In fact, I think I want a little extra texture. So I'm just gonna leave some of the strokes heavy, and that way it's giving me a little bit more of a texture. So the other thing I kind of want to do is let this brush run out and see what I end up with, because I'm kind of thinking it'd be fun to go over that. So I'm just gonna let all of my paint kind of come out of it without reloading it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and rinse that brush. Yeah, there's a lot of paint in that. I'll let that sit for a minute. One thing that I've learned is that you really don't want to let your brushes sit in water like overnight. I've done that by accident. But when you're all done, I highly recommend clean up your stuff. Rinse your brushes, put everything away. You'll be so much happier than you did. Trust me on this. Okay, this brush I'm done using. I'm gonna clean out this brush. Get some of that pink out of there. Good enough. Well, I can see there's still some in it, but I'm probably going to use it again, so I'll come back to that. Okay, so next I want to add another layer of color, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a small bit of yellow, and then I'm going to move into my blue. And what I'm hoping happens is that when I move from this pink to the blue, this yellow is going to give me some kind of fun orangey colors in here maybe, and then the blue on top of the yellow might give me some green. I don't know if that will happen. I'm just kind of hoping it will. If it doesn't, I'm fine with that, but I don't think I'll need much yellow. So I'm gonna go light on that one. And let's see, I'm gonna try this brush. I wanna see what this does, but I'm gonna get a little bit of water in it and try picking up some of this yellow. Let's see what happens. So I'm just putting down again, kind of in that same angle, just a little bit of this yellow. I want to see a bit of that pink in between. So I think what I'm going to do is run this through, and I still have a little bit of that pink right here. So I'm going to try kind of blending it and see what happens. Bring it down a little bit more. So I really don't get a whole lot of just straight yellow. I really kind of want it to blend together. So that is looking fun. So I'll go ahead and get that. And I mean, honestly, did I really see much difference between this brush and the other? In the way I'm using it, not a ton. It kind of felt fun, but I didn't really see a real big difference. But it's fun to play with different brushes. Okay, I'm gonna go in with the blue now. And again, I'm kind of hoping it'll pick up the yellow and make like a fun green color. So a little bit of, wow, it's more than I wanted. That's all right. The good thing is this stuff is not that expensive. All right, so I'm gonna go back in with, I'm gonna use the big brush. Again, I'm just gonna add a little water to it just to thin it out to start. And I'm gonna start in this corner and work my way up and see what happens as I get into this yellow. Kind of like how this is leaving a little bit of white. Now I recognize that I'm only gonna see a smidge of that. I really kind of want to see what this yellow and blue will create. I'm gonna just use a little, ooh, maybe I don't like that. I don't think I like that green. Okay, so now I'm kind of glad that didn't happen. I have just a little touch where you can kind of see right here where it just blends just a smidge and creates kind of a green, but it doesn't go into what I have down in the corner here, which hopefully you can see that. Okay, so that's my base layer. So I'm gonna move this aside, and it makes me think of like a piece of candy. So I'm gonna go ahead and blast this with my air dryer and then move on to the next layer. Okay, that is mostly dry. I still have some areas where it's a little bit more wet, and that's these areas where I left a little more paint on the surface. Down here in this blue section, there's a blob there. I'm gonna let that continue to dry on its own. I'm gonna try carefully not to press down on it because I've done that before and it ended up kind of smearing. So I'm pretty happy with my base layer. I'm not sure if you're able to see on camera, but there is a little bit of a warpness, if that's a word. So if I kind of hold it at this angle, I don't know if that'll help, but this is, again, a paper that is meant for, it is good for mixed media. It can hold the water, but it's not as thick as, say, that watercolor paper. That is much more solid, and it can take on the water a lot better than this can. But overall, I'm still pretty happy with the performance, I'll say, of this paper. Okay, so now I have to decide what's my next layer gonna be. And what I kind of wanted to try is maybe I want to play with this. I want to see what'll happen. And I think it's kind of like a screen print. I don't know how to use this, so we're going to try this out together. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off this backer. I think I want to save, and I'm going to do it right here. So I'm going to lay this down. And I don't really want to have the sharp edges, so I'm not going to go that far over it, but I'm going to do something kind of maybe like here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in, I think I'm going to try the blue. I'm going to use the blue, and I'm going to use this tool, and I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to do it right on the edge first because I know that that'll get cut off, and just see what happens. Oh, this is super satisfying. I can hear my daughter going, "Daddy, what's mommy doing?" So she might come in. Oh my goodness. I love that. Okay, so, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So I don't want it to be so square, so I'm just kind of gonna see what happens if I do a little bit here and a little bit there. Oh, I'm so excited about this. This is gonna be super cool. Oh, that's kind of giving me a squared off. Meh. Okay, well. Whoa, getting out of control. All right, clean that off. So this is like a silicone spatula almost. Now I don't know how to clean this. So I might have to run to the kitchen or the bathroom here, the sink. But let's peel it off. Oh my gosh, I love that. Wow, that's cool. Okay, I want to definitely get more of these and find these. These are like, yeah, like screen printing. That was so cool. Okay, I'm going to go clean this off because I definitely want to be able to reuse this. And then I will, this shouldn't take that long to dry. So by the time I get back, it should be ready to go. So I will be back. Okay, I'm back. When I was cleaning it, I kind of wrinkled it up. I'm not sure how that happened. So I'm going to stick it back on this backer and tuck it away. And hopefully it flattens back out. I don't know if that'll matter, but let me go ahead and get it back on here. It's got just a little bit of a stickiness to it. I didn't get it fully clean. I can still see some of the blue, but hopefully that's not a big deal. And it seems to have flattened back out. So I'm going to probably stick that under a Bible or something to flatten it out better just in case. But yeah, that was... Why aren't we talking about this more? This is so fun. Okay, let me set that aside. Let's see how dry it is. It's still a little wet, but that's okay. I'm going to let it be. Okay, so I have that really cool thing, and it's kind of fun to envision what this is going to look like. And even the scrap sides, once I cut this, wherever I decide to cut it, is going to be useful. I'll find something to do with it. Okay, so I've got some paint down. I've played with that. Let's do a little bit of, maybe we'll do some of this splattery stuff. I'm going to go ahead and use, this yellow is really, really bold, and I really do like it. So I'm going to drop a few bits down. Bits? That's probably not the right word. My hair is getting in my face. So if you see my hands going up towards my face, like out of the screen, I'm just trying to tame this mess. Okay, so I'm just kind of going to drop a few little splatters. I think I need a little bit more. I need more. Come on. I'm trying not to have too heavy of a hand because I don't want to make a big mess. There we go. All right, so that gave me, now I don't know if I want them to stay in perfect dots. So I'm going to go ahead and use the straw technique with this. So all I'm going to do is take this straw and I'm going to blow. And I'm going to turn it because I want them to kind of go in different directions. That kind of made me lightheaded. Okay, so now I kind of have this like veiny effect going on. So that's kind of cool. Whoa, I am seriously a little bit lightheaded. All right, I want to splatter something up here. And I'm kind of torn on if I want to use the blue and carry more blue up or if I want to do something else. I'm very afraid of what will happen if I splatter this ink, but I'm gonna try it. Hope I don't end up making a horrible mess on my desk. So I'm gonna go ahead and put, it's got like a eyedropper, so I'm gonna put a few drops here onto my palette. I'm gonna say a quick prayer. And I think I'm gonna find a piece of scratch paper to protect my desk here. So if you can't quite see what's happening here, I apologize, but it's for the greater good that I protect this space here. So, oh gosh, I'm so nervous. All right, so here's the problem. I think I want to be able to use both my hands. So let me do a little prop up, and I'm gonna makeshift this. Okay, so hopefully you guys will be able to see this. Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. Yes, yes. Oh, I hope you guys can see this. This is so cool. I'm sorry. I know I said that on the last thing, but oh my gosh, I love it. This is a cool tool. Oh man, that was awesome. Okay, let me move this so you can see what happened. I'm hopeful that will clean off. I have no idea if that's going to come off of my palette. Let me get that out of the way. Let me try to clean my desk off here real fast before I get too far. Ooh, that didn't go well. All right, let's clean this. Oh yeah, no problem. Easy peasy. So if you're wondering what this is, I've talked about it previously on my channel, but I'll bring it up again. This is just a little piece of a magic eraser, like Mr. Clean magic eraser. And it always cleans off my white desk. So that worked. Okay, I feel like I have some confidence now in that tool. So let's see if it cleaned off well. It's kind of made of like a plastic bristles, so it in theory should clean off just fine. Yeah, it looks like it's clean. Okay, get that out of the way. So now I have this really cool splatter thing going on. I did a little over here, kind of did a big blob there. I'm not mad at that either. I love it. There's one other thing I had thought about getting out, and that is like some metallic paint to add a few marks on. I did that on my previous page. I did that on an example. I just don't know where I put that paint, so I'm gonna run and grab that real quick. Okay, I found some metallic paints. I have a antique copper, a sterling silver, and a pure gold. I think I'm gonna go with the antique copper. I wanna see what that looks like, so let me get these out of the way. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of that down. So let's see. Ooh. I am gonna use this brush again. And again, I'm gonna take and do just a test spot over here. Oh, I don't know if I like that actually. I think I'm gonna say no. I don't want to do that one. I'm gonna go to gold. I always am gonna go to gold. I like gold. I'm a gold girl. I like rose gold too. It's just fine. Silver, meh. All right, so I've got gold here. Let me just go ahead and do, yeah, I'm gonna like that a lot better. Okay, so I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna turn it again. I'm gonna go this direction. I'm just gonna put down a few little marks here and there. Now I recognize that some of this might not be fully dry, especially as I get down into this yellow splattery paint, but I think it'll be all right. Let's see, maybe another one here, there. Okay. So now I have some gold marks, and I like that. Oop. Making a mess. Okay. Now I want to do some white, and I'm going to do what I did before. I'm going to drop just a tiny bit here and there, maybe 3 spots. Let's see what happens. And I'm going to use the straw technique again. So here's something interesting. I don't remember if I shook it up because this spot here is a lot thicker. This one was a little thicker, and this one was really more liquidy, if that's the right word. And I got a piece of hair. I am now one with this painting, I think. Yep. That's a piece of my hair. Okay, cool. The beauty of, and I already said this, acrylic paint is that it dries super, super fast. And I will say, so does the acrylic ink. I don't want to touch that blob. I don't think that's dry. Okay, so now let's see. I think I'm going to do some sharpieing. I'm going to do some more mark making. I think I'm going to focus down on, well, I really want to make sure this is dry. I'd like to kind of do a few flecks on the orange. That's not orange. That's orange. That's gold. Ooh, I don't know what just happened. I need more coffee. I don't want to wait for it to dry, so I'm just going to go ahead and put some marks here. And all I'm doing is just making some quick little dashes. Nothing special, nothing crazy, just kind of doing it from this corner and up to the blue. I think I'm going to do that. Okay, so I've got some black down. Let's see, I think I want to do some dots. So I'm going to go to my smaller paint pen here. And I have these splatters up here, which are really organic and cool. But I think I'm going to do is some dots. Let's see, is that dry? No. I could do it over the white. I'm going to go for it. Just going to put some dots on the white. Even though it's not 100% dry, I think I'm going to risk it. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Let's see, what else do I got? I have this big white one. So I think I'm going to do the same thing I did with these black ones, but I'm going to do big white ones right in this corner. Kind of through here. There's something so satisfying. Oh, look at that. I picked up a little yellow, so now I've got yellow marks. Oops. Yeah. Don't want to keep that in there, so color that out. Okay. Oops. Well, that's good to know what would happen there. So now I have this interesting yellowish mark, which is kind of neat. Let's see, what else do I want to add? Another thing I was thinking about trying, which I don't know if I'm going to do right now, but I will show an example. I was playing, and I have this gold crepe paper, and I even put some of that down. I'm trying to remember what I used, if I painted it down or it's good and stuck on there. So that's another thing that I could use is like tissue paper. I could get some tissue paper out and kind of play with putting that down. I could use probably like maybe watered down glue or Mod Podge, or probably just honestly watered down white paint. I don't know. I don't know what that would look like. So I could try that. For the rest of this, I'm trying to decide if I really want to go any further or if I want to be done. I feel like I want something right here. Maybe more white dots. I'm going to try that. Yeah, I kind of like that. That's neat. Kind of goes into the black. It's going to come down. And I think what I'm going to do is kind of come down to this point right here. And then I'm going to try doing a few into the blue. Yeah, I like that. I think I want to do a few black spots on this gold. Try that. That looks fun. And let's see, what else do I have? I have this white pen. So what if I did, let's see, I don't think it's dry enough, these blobs here, if I go over them, but I think I can be somewhat safe up in this corner. So what if I just wrote What should I write? I want it to be, let's see, what's a good word? I know, I'll write experiment. Oh, gotta get that pen going. All right. Ooh, this isn't going well. This pen is not writing well. It didn't go quite as how I had wanted it. Well, it was an experiment, that's for sure. What if I don't know what's going to happen here, but I'm going to, oops. Shake your pen, then take your cap off. Don't do it the other way around. I just shook paint all over my desk. Okay. It's a little bit thicker than I would like. Experiment. I don't love that, but it's fine. I think what I'm going to do after it dries is I'm going to come back in with my black micron and write over it. So I'm going to let that dry, and maybe by the time I put it in my book, I'll remember. And I really, really want to touch this black and see if it's, nope, it's shiny. It's not dry. Okay, friends, I think I'm going to leave it at that. I feel happy with what I've accomplished. More importantly, I really hope that you found encouragement in this and this is something you want to try. As you saw, I didn't really have any crazy expensive materials. A lot of it was just simple craft paint. A Sharpie is really, honestly, probably one of the greatest tools you can have. I used these paint pens, but I didn't need to. I certainly could have done it without that. I used this tool. I think I paid maybe $7, $8 for it, but I'm sure you could find other ways to create this splatter effect. But I will say I will be using this a lot more. I highly, highly recommend this thing. It was really fun to work with. So that's probably the one takeaway I would say. If you're going to invest in any tool, for me, this is probably the one. I really like that. So if I can find it, I will make sure to link it. This comes in handy for stenciling. It obviously came in handy for this screen print thingy that I did. But other than that, honestly, friends, grab a paintbrush, grab some paint, and just play. So I hope that you will give it a try. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. So with that, thank you, friends, for watching. If you liked this video, I would love for you to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to do that. And finally, don't forget to hit the bell so you're getting notified when new videos are posted. Thanks, friends, and I'll see you next time.